Machinations.
I'm a man who believed that I died 20 years ago, and I live like a man who is dead already. I have no fear whatsoever of anybody or anything.
Gary Webb. I am an investigative journalist, and in 1996 I wrote a series of stories entitled Dark Alliance, which was about CIA involvement in drug trafficking.
I knew a man who once said death smiles at us all. All a man can do is smile back.
We're both in Skull and Bone, the secret society. It's so secret we can't talk about it. What does that mean for America? The conspiracy theorists are going to go on.
Sure they are. I don't know. I haven't seen the rest.
Number 322.
I have duty to report this afternoon that my friend and colleague, Tim Russert, collapsed and died early this afternoon.
I may die in this cell tonight or in the arena tomorrow. I am a slave. What possible difference can I make?
And no official of my administration, whether his rank is high or low, civilian or military, should interpret my words here tonight as an excuse to censor the news, to stifle dissent, to cover up our mistakes, or to withhold from the press and the public the facts they deserve to know.
What the fuck is up? Welcome back to another Already Dead. It's been a week since we've seen you last, assuming you don't watch any of our other content. I'm pleasure to be here, as always, with Austin Picard and our beautiful young Jules there on the bottom.
Come on, everybody.
Producer extraordinaire. I don't know what he produces, but that's what we call him.
I'm here.
So here we are. Wild week. There have been changes. I guess we should probably make this announcement again, since we are streaming to both audiences, and because it's a different show, and I guess you never know who tunes into what shows. But me and Austin we've separated. Austin put in his 2 weeks a while ago, and the time came.
Wow.
He packed his bags. He's leaving.
He's no
longer. He's no longer pitching in on the morning dump. But that's not bad. There's nothing bad going on. If anything, it's actually going to allow us to refocus on and actually be able to put out more content, because we were kind of talking about it the other day on the morning dump, on his last morning dump together, and it was kind of like it's going to allow him to have more time. We're still going to do Already Dead. We still got this with you guys. If anything, it's going to make it so Already Dead is actually more of a special occasion and less of a thing that we're putting on the back burner and not really putting thought into. So hopefully maybe we can refocus attention on this, maybe start getting guests and the like. Also on top of that, it's going to free up Austin to put out more of his own content. It's going to free up Austin to start putting out, maybe like he wants to start doing things like interviews. Now it will draw me down to one day of morning dump. So we're going to like a Tuesday to Friday schedule. But even then, a lot of those Mondays I'm still going to end up probably doing. So it's just saying that's the deal. But as I kind of laid out, that's actually more. You're getting one less morning dump, but getting all this other stuff. And even then, most of the time you're not going to get one less morning dump. So, and you're going to probably get a higher quality Already Dead, because it's going to be me and him catching up, as opposed to seeing each other every single day and talking almost every day. It's going to be more of a we're together on the Tuesdays, and that's it. I think it's good. Maybe a little distance in a relationship. Sometimes it's a good thing.
I mentioned before. Obviously, like I'll still show up in on TMD. Occasionally. Obviously, I just mainly the issue is obviously I'm falling behind on just getting my own solo content out as much as I would like to, and I want to ramp that up anyway. That's kind of my personal goal. So I do need to reprioritize, just knowing the level that I go to for some of the research for the conceptual outline I've been attempting to kind of pursue recently. It's hard to kind of balance, just kind of psychologically in general. It's hard to balance because sometimes I do have to unplug from the outside world to go over these documents to get a conceptual, a realistic, again, this is the way I can put it into functional terms for myself.
Frankly,
So then I
you've
know which
explained your
rabbit hole to
process
talk down.
before, and I'll go ahead and tell you it sounds a little broken to me. You may want to
Dude,
re-examine
my
it.
process is psychotic, okay? And I'm totally honest
I
and
don't
willing
think
to
it's
admit
healthy.
this. I'm doing the best I can.
I don't think it's maintainable.
Hey man, look, the
You're gonna
entire
damage
thing
your
that,
relationships with people you love in the long term.
brother. The main thing though is that I did want to. You already know, like I want to be able to pursue other
Yeah.
avenues as well under the
Mhm.
underclass umbrella, which I do want to implement an interview component as well as maybe an occasional live stream that isn't at fucking 7 a.m. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
but I just can't, like, mainly it was just like the obligation. I couldn't be reliable enough. It's essentially how I felt.
To be clear, I want to let the audience
Early
know I
version.
never forced Austin to go 7 a.m. I always said you could
Yeah,
do
you
any other
did,
time,
brother.
but I did put a gun to his head and said you will do some fucking time, okay?
Oh my god. And if anything, like I said, like it'll allow me to ramp up
Mhm.
my own content, which I do think will only benefit us all in the end. And like we'll be
Ooh,
able to
Igor
have more of
Sarsky.
a wealth of
Sorry.
resources, and that we can draw upon. And beyond that, I really just think that, honestly, the first thing I told you was like I want to continue to put out as much content together as
Mhm.
possible. Like that is my goal. It makes sense for me at this moment, right? Just to reprioritize and kind of figure out how to balance my time in the healthiest way that I can. But so anyway, we'll see. But
Yeah.
I'm totally open to the idea of coming back at some point too. So just
Yeah.
like throwing that
So,
out there. It's not like
we'll
it's
see.
it's
Maybe
it's
you'll
entirely over
reevaluate
and done
your
with.
damaging your trauma
Brother.
cycle that you continue to put yourself through.
Yeah, honestly, I was just talking to Namrock for a second about that because he hit me up and was talking about how he just finished Laurel Canyon and now he's starting PTK, and he was just like, I told him to take some breaks, right,
Yeah.
and find his happy place, and I'm like, although I am not following that same advice in this very moment while I'm purging on the as far as the Atlanta child murders, it feels like I'm just like, I don't know. It's going to be crazy by the end of this week as far as the what up, Namrock. But as far as just how much I have to finish a couple books that are specifically revolving around regarding obviously the Atlanta child murders. And
Yeah.
I had no idea. This is again something when you develop an understanding and you kind of find a legitimate, credible window into the pedophile underworld. Yeah. I had no understanding how well established this network of human compromise really is and really was and has been for far too long. And yeah, there's a lot more to that theory that we were kind of attempting to pursue before we went into Shane's show the other night and entirely pivoted to Waco. But
Oh,
the
right.
idea of like serial killers potentially
Mhm.
being patsies for a wider network more often than not, and
Yeah.
especially considering like homosexual pedophiles that that
Mhm.
seem to have
Oh,
killed many children.
we were
Uh,
talking before
on
because
similar
we
periods of
were
time.
because there's like we were going through when we were preparing for the Shane episode. We were kind of going through like kind of in our head the conceptually the outline in our head, kind of the idea of like, all right, program to kill. How do we break this up? What is a good way to break this up in our head? Okay, well we're looking like direct connections like Phoenix. Oh, now how look at this one. Maybe can we find an example of where it's like, oh, here's an example where we're thinking like, oh, it could be it went domestic. The concept of the creating serial killer, and then like looking for examples of like direct government agents and the smokescreen theory that we call it like this, and kind of the idea that all of these are fit under the umbrella of serial killers, and the smokescreen one being the idea of these like something else is going on, some sort of larger network, whatever, and that we just write it off as this and
Right.
You were telling us before this because Ed Kemper was one of those things we threw out because we were like, oh yeah, for some reason I always want to go, oh yeah, wasn't he Phoenix? And you go, oh no, he wasn't Phoenix. But then his dad was in like that elite World War II, like U.S. Canadian, like OG, like the precursor to like the Phoenix stuff. Yeah, I fired Austin. But so Ed Kemper wasn't, and then so people you kind of maybe say like make the generational argument, but he's not direct. But you were telling, so he's kind of those ones we almost sort of threw him to the wayside. It's like, I mean, don't get me wrong, he was a decent example, but he wasn't one of the better ones of the ones that we had to choose for. We're like, oh, we'll go through this name. This guy's a better example of what we're trying to display here. And then you were telling me before the show, like you actually found other connections. So what we may have been wrong, Ed Kemper may have actually been a great example to provide for the show. Not to say he was bad, but for the specific archetypes we were trying to present, like he just wasn't the ideal for one of the specific archetypes. So,
isn't that the guy who like had sex with his mother's head?
They're all cannibal.
As you do.
They're all like honestly,
Her decapitated
the co-ed killer. No, I think John Wayne Gacy was the one who allegedly. Man, I'm trying to remember now. Actually,
I think that was Ed Kemper.
You could be right. You could be
Pretty
right.
sure that was
They're
Ed,
all fusing together.
He didn't
Tim
want
Tuttle's
her
saying, if he remembers correctly,
cord, some fucked up shit with her vocal cords.
Tim Tuttle's saying, if he remembers correctly, Ed Kemper popped off around the height of Project Phoenix. But yeah, he was one that you could kind of use an example as like, oh, maybe the domestic policy is being applied here, or even the fact that it's generational because his dad was like literally the one doing those weird glowy nuke ops and shit, like off in like those weird islands in the Pacific, like. So he was top tier clearance shit, like weird next level glowy stuff.
Right, his father was in the Devil's Brigade, right? The commando unit.
Yeah, the Devil's Brigade. I thought it was like Black Devils or Red Devils or something.
Yeah,
it was a Canadian-U.S. joint thing, and yeah, their whole thing was that they would like just kind of they were silent killers, like the like peak killers, like essentially the precursor to Phoenix.
Right.
So
yeah. It's absolutely insane when it boils down to. Like he also.
You had gave me a Gacy reference, is what you gave me.
Oh,
your connection.
Oh, there's a direct connection too. Yeah.
You wouldn't actually. I could say I was about to say you'd be surprised, but you guys wouldn't be surprised how often in the pre-show I have to stop myself from like engaging with Austin because like no, this is great show content, and like but this is just the stuff that me and Austin talk about when I call him. So you're like,
this is my life, man. This
I'm like, shut the fuck up, save this for the show.
Yeah, this is honestly why I have to take a step back and find my happy place occasionally, right? Because it's a dark, sadistic underworld that you really can find yourself in once you pry a little bit into the research and attempt to corroborate it. It opens up this unacknowledged world of abuse that is far more than serial ritual murder. It's been developed into I mean, it's a criminal enterprise, but I mean, considering what it truly has become, I think that we've been fed this very cartoonish, naive version of reality of how they kind of facilitate the cover up in more ways than one in terms of like consider the satanic panic, right? Which in my mind, the serial killers in America became a phenomena really in early 1970s.
Yeah.
And spurred the satanic panic. And I think at this moment, I'm beginning to realize that so much of the ritual murder, blood sacrifice, I think there's occult beliefs playing out for certain, but there's also a level of the enterprise that's being pursued and achieved in terms of snuff films also like here's a great example is with the Atlanta child murders. I had no real knowledge of the fact that in January of 1981 there were search teams, and these search teams were discovering these abandoned houses in the Adamsville area of Atlanta, which reeked of rotting flesh. And there were 2 Bibles that were nailed to the wall, open to pages specifically referencing child murder. And it really is disturbing as hell once you start to actually read into this. And then, by the way, the Tim Tuttle, my brother, I appreciate you sending that Operation Mind Control as far as the link and the post the other day, because that alone, I covered it at least briefly, I think during the James Holmes episode. And there's a quote in the very beginning of this book of Operation Mind Control, by Walter Bauer, and it says it's by Zbigniew Brzezinski, man, the National Security Advisor, right? And he says, in the technocratic society, the trend would seem to be towards the aggregation of the individual support of millions of uncoordinated citizens, easily within the reach of magnetic and attractive personalities, effectively exploiting the latest communication techniques to manipulate emotions and control reason. And in my mind, I just think the celebrity influence, I think, how in every single way are they manipulating perception? I just feel like we have to, right?
Dude, go down the process rabbit hole, and you realize, that perception game, especially, I mean, I guess, like, for modern day people, it's kind of hard to understand if you don't. I mean, I was never someone who's like super into like oldies or like knew a ton about like, previous era, socialites and stuff. But like when you get a grip of it and you get it, understand the players at that time involved in these groups, you're like, oh, fuck. Like, it is. I mean, how there's actually some that even like your normal people are like, oh shit, like Jack Nicholson, I mean, yeah, that might be, I don't know to what degree you can tie him into the process per se, but like, let's be real. I mean, he kept that company and kept that company hard. And these people were all playing in the same pools. When you look at Manson, you look at these process people, you look at these socialites, you look at the Rat Pack, you look at like all sorts of people in this area, this generation, like the to-do people, the it crowd. Like they were like a lot of them like were in the Levian shit, like the fucking Church of Satan. And, process stuff. We talked about that a little bit too, but like this was what these celebrities are doing. They were dabbling in these circles, like the big names. That's the shit they were doing. And there's a lot of weird stuff too. You can get even deeper when you get to like RFK and JFK, Marilyn Monroe, like some of that shit. You can kind of connect that stuff in as well. And our fucking Sirhan, and you're like, dude, you'll lose your fucking mind going and wading through these waters.
Just wait until. Yeah, you get that glimpse into this pedophile underworld where you realize that all of these various networks connect into this overarching pedophile establishment that I was unaware of, that it very much of course, one of the goals being human compromise, sexual blackmail. But considering the idea that you have organized crime and the mob clearly involved as far as mob connections to the Chicago mob, the mob in Dallas at the time, that all this was playing out with John David Norman and the Odyssey Foundation. It's terrifying because there's links to each of these seemingly child abduction, snuff film, child pornography networks that are all seemingly pursuing to compromise child care organizations or create them themselves, or like have them licensed by plausible deniability cutouts, which are a huge part of this operation as well, which it really starts to show itself in terms of Paul Bonacci. It's like this, honestly, that he is a resource. I'm beginning to realize, as far as how many of the statements that he made, it seems to start to iron out what exactly,
you're finding a bunch of corroborations and odd spots.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's what I was unaware of in the first place, was the fact that you had obviously the Oakland County child killer connection to the Johnny Gosch abduction and the murder and the abduction of Jacob Wetterling as well, who was also ritualistically murdered. And his father with military intelligence ties, I believe, which also happened to be involved in the ritual killing as well. But that ties in Francis Sheldon and the North Fox Island syndicate, right? That criminal enterprise, which was running the Hermes Connection as far as the magazine, the publication for the pedophiles subscription model.
Yeah, we were talking about that last night on me and Jules a little bit, and I was using that as a great example of the occult and kind of equating it to Michael Aquino. in the concept of like you read the brochure of what the Temple of Set is, and I kind of compared that to those like newspaper, magazine, whatever, in the back ad stuff that were clearly subscription models for boy love or whatever. They would conceal itself as something else. And it was like, but once it's kind of, and I also made the example of like, Sirhan directing the attention over here, and then, while he's getting popped in the back of the head, it's like once you see the trick being done, once you see the guy shooting RFK in the back of the head, once you see like the, what was the other example I just used? The whatever the hell the code is they're saying. Once you know, once that clicks in, it's obvious. Like once you see with the subscription model, like, oh, this is to procure children, it becomes obvious. But before that, you're just like, I mean, for one, who the hell was looking at those? And two, like, even if you did catch your eye, you're just like, that's weird. That's confusing. Okay, whatever, and you moved on. So that is kind of I think an example of like the occult, and I don't know, I just kind of wanted to point that out. Was it a good? I feel like that's you've mentioned the occult nature of things, and it is like they play these semantic games because me and Jules kind of over intellectualized all this stuff last night, into the philosophy of it, and it's like they actually kind of do have a philosophy in a sense. But it's like a philosophy that's like a non-theistic philosophy. It's like they worship themselves. It's just a bizarre. At least the Temple of Set, and also then there's a component of like, what are they really saying, and to what extent do they mean it, or is it just like you're supposed to figure out what that means on your own? It's like what these they can interpret their woo-woo nonsense type shit.
And some of those cult cutouts, I think, are actual cutouts, right?
Yeah.
For that very reason, to kind of cloud and misdirect the approach and perception of how you should kind of like research investigate the case in the first place, beyond the idea that at least when you're considering like Michael Aquino, you're considering some of these, like even a Carrie Thornley and Discordianism, right? Like it does create a very convenient misconception as far as the allowing the public to dismiss things at face value because of the extraordinary nature of the claims themselves. And so I think that is in itself kind of like worth acknowledging in terms of like, if you wanted to misdirect the public perception, then you could easily kind of cloak a lot of these things in this occult framework, which might just be in certain cases not entirely genuinely believed as far as the perpetrators themselves, and could just be a very convenient tactic to Well,
that was kind of what I was kind of driving at. It's almost like to pardon my French, to put it simply, it's like Jew tricks, like because it's like when you read this, like when we read the Temple of Set, it's like they can mean every single word that's in there. You just have to find a way to interpret it for it to make sense. And it is like, but while it is like you can believe exactly what they're saying, and then once you realize, like for example, we were kind of getting into the concept of the Temple and Set, and they worship consciousness. So and they believe that other religions, so they're black magicians, and that they worship consciousness, and then white magicians,
flame. Isn't that what they call it? The black flame is what the Temple of Set calls it, which is this higher intellectual pursuit. Yeah, and it's a fascinating thing.
Yeah, you brought up the flame because the flame is in every
black
mystery
flame,
school.
Brother.
They're all different colors in every mystery school. Yeah,
there you go.
It
goes back to the 18th century hellfire clubs too, right, Jules? Because like we were talking about the other day, as far as like these ancient deities being, obviously, in my mind, kind of rebranded and remarketed to the public, depending on the new age esoteric ideology that's being redistributed in a different way that's more palatable to a different profile, that, or you know what I mean, that what's the term? But yeah, it's entirely misdirection and sort of
what I was driving at though is that the like we're digging into their beliefs. And then how they broke it down is they created this like binary essentially between black magicians and white magicians. And the white magicians, they worshipped what they said was a non-consciousness. And so they're worshiping, so in that admission, they're admitting the way they understand it, that if there is, they either are saying there is either no deity out there, like an actual, entity that has its own agency, like a god or whatever, that out there, but or if there is one, it's some sort of universal consciousness. And so like it's just like an amalgamation, which kind of in a sense just becomes an egregore, which literally just becomes like something like the spirit of war or something like that takes over a people, which I guess you can apply a spiritual conceptual nature to it, but you also can completely understand it in a normal pragmatic way. And so it's kind of like when you understand what they're saying, it's just kind of, they're actually like this over intellectualized way and kind of a weird woo-woo way of saying, we don't believe that there are gods, but you can consider yourself a god, and we're kind of raising our awareness to essentially be able to be gods among men. And this is where they get, get into transhumanism and type of stuff like that.
Feeding everyone.
Exactly.
Yeah, 100%. And Set, it all ties back to like ancient Mesopotamia, ancient Egypt. It's very strange as well. And that was a part of that the Aquino group, right? The Temple of Set, that was very interesting to me, because I believe that the dispute with LaVey was actually just a plausible
restructuring.
Yeah, that's all it was.
Yeah,
Like,
that's
honestly,
window dressing. Window dressing, some minor, like, oh, let's fix up this thing. I don't like what we did the last time around. Let's change it.
Exactly. That's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
And beyond that, I mean, we'll get into more of the details of the cases themselves, drawing in Michael Aquino here in a moment. But yeah, the Setians believed. I remember covering this in the witch hunt narrative. The Setians believed that, which, by the way, obviously was Presidio, West Point, and McMartin, which is that is not a coincidence. You know what I mean? Like, these military bases, the Offutt Air Force Base in Ohio was no doubt the center of Project Monarch in many ways. And that was according to Paul Bonacci as well, who claims that it was from, he witnessed Michael Aquino handing that, no, he witnessed Larry King from the Franklin Credit Union and the Franklin scandal,
good to clarify,
handing over money to Michael Aquino, right? Essentially. So this is a well-established network tying in military intelligence and this, again, we find ourselves at the crossroads, the intersection of intelligence, the occult, right? And this organized crime nature of how the human compromise network has been facilitated and structured to begin with. It's a hand in hand. With these, you can obviously, Watergate is one of the best examples of that.
Yeah, we have a Watergate episode tomorrow to do.
Yeah, is it
tomorrow? Thursday.
Okay, I was like, oh shit.
Real quick, Austin. I don't want to cut you off or set you down a different path, but I'm just very curious. Did you just get excited to go down a different rabbit hole, or did you not address the Kemper?
No, I haven't addressed any of it.
Well, I didn't know if not address. Are you like working towards that, or did you get excited and go down a different rabbit hole?
I got excited and I went down a different rabbit hole, but it's okay.
That's okay. We can keep going down this rabbit hole. I just want to know if I need to redirect it later, because I do want to hear about that later.
Yeah.
I'm just like on bated breath. Like, is that happening? I'm like, okay, we're not doing that.
Right.
Okay, well, I'll just enjoy the rabbit hole we're in.
Right.
I don't think
no, I was just reinforcing and reiterating what Jules was alluding to and what you were basically describing, which was this strange, what was it that they worship? Setians believed. Here's what it is. Hold on. I have it in my witch hunt narrative notes. So Setians believe that Set is the one real God, and that he has aided humanity by giving them a questioning intellect that they called the Black Flame, which distinguishes them from other animal species. Set is held in high esteem as a teacher whose example is to be emulated, but he is not worshipped as a deity. This is where the individual becomes the god. Highly individualistic and basis, the temple promotes the idea that practitioners should seek self-deification and thus attain an immortality of consciousness. Setians believe in the existence of magic as a force which can be manipulated through ritual. However, the nature of these rituals is not prescribed by the temple. Specifically, Aquino describes Setian practices as black magic. Which allegedly a term he defined idiosyncratically, but in my mind, black magic is malicious in intent, right? And
it could be, I guess it depends. But generally speaking, yeah.
it's not benevolent magic. White magic, allegedly in the cult concept, is
I guess it depends on how they defined it. Like, I guess as me and Jules are breaking down last night, the way that
Black
they
magic
defined
is
it, it doesn't
the
necessarily
attainment
have
of
to be
knowledge
evil.
through force, and white magic is the attainment through growth. It goes back to the left-hand path and the right-hand path.
One point I made last night, though, is that, like, obviously depends on who you ask. If you're asking the Setians their perspective on black magic, white magic, they're going to create a different delineation between the two and what means what. So, like, they're literally providing different definitions. Obviously, generally speaking, the black magicians are like, let's be real, those are the glowy spooks doing weird shit and calling themselves black magicians, like homos over there. Like, they're the baddies. Like, okay, maybe they're saying, but that doesn't mean technically we have to be bad. Like, come on, you're being like, we know what you're doing. We know what you're doing, homo. Like, this is, we've broken your little spell. The occult nonsense is clearly a gay little fucking club where you have your job listings that you put out and you just cloak it all in fucking weird little woo-woo language.
That chooses
like,
the fucking job positions.
Right. Yeah, for real. It literally is probably like, yeah, they go, oh, it's just literally just like, oh, hey, go get Bob. I want him to go do this job over here. And they're like, oh, okay, yeah, like probably literally shit like that. Or like, oh, hey, Tim is gonna rape that kid. They're like whatever. Like there's some sort of like a cult type thing like that. I think like once you break that spell, it's like something really simple and really stupid probably. Oh yeah. But it is at the same time when you analyze their silly little woo woo language, it's kind of telling the truth. And it was kind of my point. Like there's no lie there. It's just like it's like listening to a Jordan Peterson, talking about like going to the store. It's like he's going to tell you the most like metaphorical archetype, this, that, and like all over the place type bullshit, That's what they do with their nonsense. And they make you go, oh my God, look at this woo woo. And you're like, they didn't say anything. Or if you analyze what they said is kind of like, we get info and we pass it on to the other people and we all like hang out and we think we're cool and we try to influence world events and through magic, which is essentially just meme magic. That's all that it is. I mean, obviously, it'd be like we would typically prescribe like a negative connotation to it, but in a sense, that's what it is. It's meme magic, like it's the idea of just influencing the world. Essentially, that's all they're trying to do.
Yeah.
And the idea it's meme magic and the concept of NPCs. We talked about this a lot yesterday in our episode, paywalled, so pay up horse. The idea of that, like, I think what they're implying when they make this delineation in their head between like from their perspective in the black and white, they see the whites as worshiping a non-consciousness, and they're kind of like, and they're almost like these NPCs that aren't really. And everyone else is, so they haven't zephyred, like they haven't attained a higher, the black flame or whatever, the thing that distinguishes us from animals. It's kind of the concept in Dune where you're like, how the gom bar or whatever, like the poke, like if, whether you're a real man, like, yeah, you're technically a human, but and we talked about this, too, the idea of that, like, even me, I feel like there was a period of time where I was like, I wasn't critically examining the way I interacted with the world and was just reacting. Not to say I do that regularly, but it's the idea of like waking up or whatever. I just think there was a period in my life where I was just reacting, and that's it. Like I was just literally NPC, just blinders doing things, not thinking about anything.
To become,
and that's the concept of all of this is memes. Combine the NPC thing, just cloaked in woo-woo, evil, magician, homo, goth kid language.
Yep, no, 100%, man, and I think. The system is structured in this way by design, and it's in order to usher through this, entirely, essentially, we have generations of eunuchs when it comes down to our ability to actually assess reality. We're entirely non-threatening. There's absolutely no threat we pose to the establishment in my mind. The only thing that they have to continually do is deceive us and manipulate us along the way. I do think there is an awakening that is occurring in certain aspects of the landscape that we're, as far as the alternative media landscape, but you still have these digital gulags and these obvious modern Mockingbird assets that are strategically put into place to kind of re-corral and usher through, the establishment narrative once more, and re-corral back in the individuals fleeing from the deception, still vulnerable, to the false narratives. And I think that that's the issue, is that you kind of have to, you have to form a fundamental framework for yourself, like as far as just again remove that veil, but it's a daily choice. It's a decision you have to make, and that is something that I think people, the demoralization incentivizes you to just unplug and put your head in the sand, and at a certain moment, that's kind of what a lot of people, their reaction becomes just, I would rather not know. Ignorance is bliss. And I understand that knee-jerk reaction, but it is permanently the problem as far as how we consistently facilitate the current structured system and continue to pose no real threat to the establishment. And so that's why when you pry below the surface in certain aspects of these cases, and the monstrous network reveals itself for what it is, and you realize that you've been sold this level of deception that's hard to even conceptualize, and as far as like to it's just, anyway, I honestly believe at this moment that when you're dealing with such sophisticated levels of psychological warfare, then yeah, you should definitely spend a lot of your time trying to at least manufacture some sort of defense mechanism for yourself, right? And have some fundamental principles you can rely on so the deception doesn't cloud your judgment. So I think that's where a lot of people find themselves, falling into the two-party delusion, and once again, choosing their their false idol, and it never leads to any sort of positive, constructive outcome that's going to actually shift us into an optimistic direction for the future, and so we remain on that very same dystopian path. So anyway, I just said a lot of nothing, but you understand what I'm trying to say.
Kemper.
Right.
Jaycee and Kemper. Go.
Yeah. So
what's the connection? I want to know this genuinely. I'm like, the fact there's a connection here fucking blows me away.
No,
so I got to hear this.
All right. So
are we talking Kevin Bacon, or are we talking like at least like 1 degree or less,
or
2 degrees or less?
Directly tied in.
Let's fucking go, baby boy.
Oh yeah, it's nuts. And by the way, keep in mind the fact that you have Ed Kemper spending 5 years at the Atascadero institution in Atascadero, as far as after he murdered his grandparents. And this is where it seems like he actually potentially received. It was the Atascadero State Hospital, and it seems like he could have very well at least had his introduction into the mind altering MPD, right? Multiple personality disorder, which is effectively what happened to John Wayne Gacy as well, which he was apparently it was proven out throughout the litigation and trial before he was sentenced to death, essentially, that he had developed this split personality disorder. And it was very much in the same terms of like a Wayne Williams, right, who for the Atlanta child murders effectively developed the same problem and essentially had this split personality disorder, which was really just multiple personality disorder and DID. And so each and every one of these candidates, as far as these serial killers, are candidates for mind control techniques as far as that's concerned. And so the connection to Ed Kemper and John Wayne Gacy, as I had mentioned before, obviously Ed Kemper has the military intelligence connections to this right wing, this strange strategy of tension for that his father was pursuing in terms of Gladio, in my mind. And John Wayne Gacy, so he joins the junior chamber of the basically what was considered. It's very interesting because as far as this Jaycees, look up what. Yeah, man, that motherfucker was talking mad shit to me, huh? In the chat. But anyway, fuck that dude.
What was he saying?
Man, he just had nothing optimistic to say about anything I was presenting.
He wasn't
and
very
every
nice.
Word that I had to say was that I was rambling and that I'm a plagiarist and that yeah, fuck that dude.
He was rambling, but it's not very nice to point out.
Yeah, how dare you point out the fact that I ramble? That's what I do, you piece of shit.
We all just let him work through it, and then
Exactly.
he gets there.
Thank you. Yeah. So
Look, I didn't even see. That's how bad of a producer I am. I didn't.
No
Yeah,
worries.
it was me. I got tired of the negativity.
Well,
Your
I'll start
dog, I'm
to-
trying to have a good
You're
time
good,
here
you're
now.
good, don't worry. But yeah, this is fascinating stuff though, because honestly, you if you understand what the Jaycees are, like it's essentially it's this youth organization set up to basically isolate and identify individuals with leadership capabilities that have potential, as far as future political candidates, right? As far as just presenting that potential. And so when you discover the fact that John Wayne Gacy joined the United States Junior Chamber, also known as the Jaycees, this national civic group, with this odd parallel and coincidence that we're meant to believe this is a coincidence, and that is he joined this group with fellow serial killer Ed Kemper, who also belonged to this JC, this United States Junior Chamber in Waterloo, right? And so Gacy was named outstanding vice president of the Waterloo Jaycees in 1967. And other notable Jaycees include President Bill Clinton, Ronald Reagan, Gerald Ford, Richard Nixon, Vice Presidents Al Gore, Walter Mondale, Hubert Humphreys, Bill Gates, Howard Hughes, Charles Lindbergh. Like, this is just, to mention the members that have been a part of this organization. And so that alone, as far as Ed Kemper joining the Jaycees, the Junior Chamber of Commerce, as he was apparently at the Atascadero State Hospital, that is when he became a member. And so that alone to me, like, really, drew my attention, obviously. But so he was in the exact same organization that John Wayne Gacy was in Waterloo, right, in Chicago, as far as like the Illinois connection there to the organized crime syndicate. And so that is very important in terms of understanding what was actually happening in regard to the John Wayne Gacy murders, because once again, like, I couldn't even believe the connections playing out with John Wayne Gacy, as far as you consider the fact that he's in Chicago, all right?
Mm-hmm.
And Jack Ruby as well is in Dallas, right, at the time when he actually rented an apartment from John David Norman, which, if you understand, John Wayne Gacy has a direct tie-in to John David Norman and the Odyssey Foundation, because apparently he was actually abducting children and boys to utilize in snuff films in the Chicago area. And so that was what he was his role was essentially to collect human compromise and blackmail on political, at least diplomatic individuals who were visiting the area, and he would host parties, which I was entirely unaware of until just recently, obviously. And that was when I discovered that apparently he was hosting these parties in order to actually obtain sexual blackmail to utilize on these politicians for human compromise. And that is when the Chicago mob connections came into play. And so you have Rosalind Carter visiting Chicago for the Polish Constitution Day Parade as a peace offering from President Jimmy Carter to then Mayor Michael Bilandich. I don't know how to pronounce it. And it was for some apparent slight. And so this you know who the organizer of the parade there to greet Rosalind Carter was? John Wayne Gacy. Isn't that fucking crazy? Because if you consider the fact that essentially when the federal authorities raided his actual residence, right, there were apparently Gacy and all his lawyers, they apparently were filing all this litigation within the county courthouse. But it basically what had happened was all these 8mm film strips were discovered, and this is the same thing that happened with Wayne Williams in Atlanta. And
same thing happened with Manson. People, this is like this thing that slides into the table. Most people don't realize there were all these films Like that gets frequently just breezed over or not mentioned at all. The Polanski, the films, there was all these talks among all these socialites that we were talking about before, and how they were all, filming fucking together essentially, and implications of much darker shit going on, but not being directly said.
100%. But the issue that we're witnessing here is again, it's like, this is Son of Sam. Why were there vans outside of where the murders took place? There were vans with tripods in them filming for snuff film purposes. That was another reason. Okay, it's a targeted assassination on an occult holiday. And they actually have 3 other individuals in the van with a camera actually filming it for purposes that they would later use, obviously, for the Enterprise. And blackmail files on local individuals and politically connected people are held by John Wayne Gacy when they're discovered, obviously. And he had a whole set of blackmail files for apparently famous athletes. Here's another aspect of like, what was Heidi Reichen doing in the Watergate context? Not only was she brought back into DC during the Nixon administration for sexual blackmail purposes by the mob and the CIA, she had spent a lot of time in Dallas at the clubs with Jack Ruby, just so happened to be affiliated with this very same network. And what was her role? She was running a sexual blackmail operation for the mob and the CIA on political operatives or just political assets. And it was for human compromise. So that alone, should essentially give everyone pause. I mean, come on, that's fascinating.
I'm telling you, I guess I'm just like deep in the process rabbit hole right now, because I'm like almost the end of Dana Dudah's fucking series. She did, well, not the end, I guess the end of what she's got out so far, like 12 episodes. Right. But man, it is like, dude, all these connections, you're just like, dude, what the fuck? Like, it's everything you're laying out. It's all like, yeah, that ties into all that, and that ties into RFK, like as I was getting at before. Yeah, and then like then there's the implications of like, whether what isn't there supposedly that fucking RFK was, there's rumors, I don't know if true it is, that he was there with Marilyn Monroe at some point the day she died or some shit, like. So there's she was another person that kind of in these fucking like circles. So you're just like, what is going on, dude? Oh yeah. It's just
Did you say Monroe? Which one did you just say? Marilyn
Monroe. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like she was considered a black swan, I believe, and actually was affiliated with intelligence, which is why she was running. So she was one of the individuals who was being produced out of Lookout Mountain Laboratory in Laurel Canyon.
Guys, hit Dendrick Fractal with a horny hammer. Calm down, bud. Calm down.
Stop gooning.
Take it easy.
She's just a nice lady, okay?
She's a sweetheart, man.
Okay, be respectful. But yeah, the
nice tits. Way to go, guys!
Right. Yeah, the Jesuits are definitely tied into a lot of this, and obviously
they're definitely a problem.
Where were the finders taking those children, the 6 children?
Was it Jesuit church or some shit or something like that?
Jesuit institution in Mexico, which ties in Metamoros in a way as well.
Jesuit school for smart kids.
Check this out, brother. Yeah, for gifted children. It's like ridiculous, but
for smart kids that read good.
Yeah, yeah. What is this?
Which none of them could read. They were fucking all like animalistic retards.
Yeah, exactly.
We want to learn how to read and learn how to do other things cool too.
Yeah, exactly. But no,
that was what the finders cults guys said. Yeah.
Hey, man, they 100%. They did not even know what a toilet was, apparently.
Yeah.
Right? Like they were acting that animalistic whenever they were discovered in the Tallahassee Park. But beyond that, I mean, here's the crazy connection. Now, I didn't realize. It seems like the reason that I
to be clear, RFK Senior, not Junior. Junior is that's what I was talking about. You guys are probably thinking Junior. Just want to be very clear. There's a Junior and Senior. A lot of people forget there was a Senior guy's fucking back of his head fucking blown by the fucking his bodyguard Glowy.
His brother.
Yeah, but go on. Sorry.
Same people.
No, you're good. I just like.
I mean, RFK does suck too. Junior sucks too. But like, I don't want to be anyone confusing when say I'm giving direct ties to the process to him. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised, but like I don't know anything about that.
How can we even join the cult if we can't even fit in the building?
Well, see, what you do is you go find a young college kid and you go drown him in a body of water and get away with it, and then you'll be contacted later. That's how that works. I think. I'm pretty sure that's what Smiley Face Killers is some sort of weird initiation to something else.
There's no doubt, man. And but what I found crazy about all of this is that apparently, not only are members of the Franklin scandal, they're apparently tied into the Odyssey Foundation, and that is basically due to Paul Benassi. And so here we go again. You have the finders being listed as members of ordering children from the Odyssey network, which was from John David Norman. Look up a picture of this guy, put him on the screen. Honestly, at some point we should do that.
John David Norman.
And
I don't know why I'm doing that. We have a producer. You do that.
Jules, what the fuck, man? But so basically what I found fascinating is that you have members of the finders purchasing children from this network. And then you also have perpetrators within the Franklin scandal who are caught purchasing children from this network. And so for me, we already know that Wayne Williams and the Atlanta Child Murders Network was actually tied directly in with John David Norman and the Odyssey Foundation. And we know for a fact that Dean Corll and the Dean Corll, Candyman murders in Houston were directly affiliated with John David Norman's network, as it obviously after he was convicted and sent to prison, he used a cutout that was called the Delta. The Delta Network but either way, it was essentially his new cutout for the Odyssey Foundation, and he continued to utilize this network. And who ran the network on his behalf was this individual who apparently, man, when you realize Philip Paskey was actually working on John Wayne Gacy's construction crew, and that he was running the Odyssey network for John David Norman while he was in fucking prison. And Phil Paskey is working with John Wayne Gacy to abduct children, utilize them in snuff networks, dig underground tunnels, and basically they had just mass graves that they were digging on their property.
It's like Gacy and Norman both shared the same little fucking twink that had outgrown getting fucking raped by the elites.
Yeah,
and now he served a different purpose, and so it kind of was like it's almost as if it's like they have these. We've talked about this before in these groups. They have these like the older person and then the younger guy. I mean, which is just common in like gay relationships in general, just like this older and grooming thing. But particularly in these like child trafficking, it's like very, very, very common. It's like they have like some young, late teens, early 20s, guy that's like there with them. That helps them out with these things. So a little helper, a gopher, that does all your little tasks that you need. And it seems like Gacy and Norman shared that same little guy, because I think it was while Norman was in jail that he was fucking staying over with him. Yeah, Philip Pask was staying over with him, was staying over at Gacy's place. And I think he was at Gacy's, he was residing at Gacy's, I believe, even while Gacy was imprisoned, I believe. Yes. For at least one of the, I think I forget Gacy's, I think there was a period of time he was in prison, then came back out later. Or something. So it's like, that was, fucking Pask was in there living in his place during that time. So it's like,
right.
Sorry.
Yeah, I mean that's what we've been talking about, doggy. That's all what we've been talking about all episode. That's what the process is. The fucking the hard arm of the fucking Scientology.
Hubbard
what is
was
Scientology?
Such an occultist, like up there with Crowley as an occultist.
Yeah.
And dendritic, bro. It goes a lot deeper. He was jerking off in the fucking desert with Jack Parsons and trying to summon the Scarlet Woman, trying to make moon children.
As you
do. That's so nuts.
As one does.
Right. But just, I mean, honestly, considering the fact that some of these perpetrators were as far as in the Franklin scandal, were Delta Project clients. Like that alone, you're dealing with a network that is obviously domestically so well established that
this guy hates the Jesuits.
Hey man,
he's probably right.
He's
probably
right.
right. Yeah.
Honestly.
I mean, he seems really committed to
If
it.
they're
I think he
tied
might
into
be
the
onto
Knights of
something.
Malta, then yeah.
Well, I mean, Jesuits is what just one of the orders, the Catholic orders, is all it is, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So it's like then we have all these other weird little Catholic orders. So yeah, like I don't know. I haven't really dug enough into that, but it does seem to be like the layers that like once you get start peeking past the Jew layer, you're like, what's going on with these Catholics? What the fuck are they doing?
Weird Venetian fucking banking families who have like female members who are known alchemists, like the Sforza family. And just very, very weird people. Too much money.
I don't know what you get when you get above Catholic. Like what's above that? I don't even know. CIA Rome is what Hammer says. Yeah,
P2
probably sounds about right. Yeah.
Blood Circle. Like I honestly think that they are actually outranking the Vatican. The Vatican seems much more like it's just a money laundering operation in many ways, as well as like it's the city-state aspect of the Vatican just plays perfectly into the network globally and internationally. So that makes the most sense.
You've heard the concept of the Black Pope, right?
Yeah.
That's like I believe the Black isn't there like supposedly a Black Pope and then also a Gray Pope?
Yeah.
Isn't the Black Pope confirmed? Like it was confirmed real, but like I think they say they don't have one now or something, or I don't remember how that works. But I think they were supposed to be like their intel arm. So I think that is like the Black Pope was supposed to be sort of.
He ran the Jesuits.
Something like that.
Yeah.
So it was like the Jesuits, but then the Gray one, I think they are also
Gray
supposed
Pope
to be
runs he runs all the banking families, all the Venetian.
Okay.
Yeah, because he is
Why
part
did the Rosicrucians? Why did the Rosicrucians use black roses? Do you know why?
Do you know, or are you?
I don't know. I'm
okay. I didn't know if that was like.
It's just always.
Do you know why?
Made me, yeah. No, I 100%
Only
don't know.
use black roses? Was that like their MO, or did they? Because
I know many of them do. Yeah, they seemingly use a lot of black roses. So I just wondered if there was a reason.
I'll try to read.
Get your shit together. That's what you're here for, Jules.
So I'll try to read.
No, you're good, buddy.
What's the symbology of golden monkeys? Tell me now.
Oh my god.
What does it mean? Right. I'm just fucking with you, buddy. All right, guys, you guys ready for a little intermission? I think this might be. I don't know what we're gonna do after this because
I still have so much more. Actually,
we're coming right back. I figured we'd take a break and then bring because we're already at like 56. I feel like it makes sense to start bringing in calls, but whatever, they can interact with us while we talk about this. But I figured this will be probably maybe I don't know what we'll do after this. Maybe we'll keep doing the weekly dumps, but I do like the concept of having an intermission in between the two. But you're no longer doing the morning dump, so it does feel weird because it's like only promoting my shit. It's like I'm like exploiting that for that. But it is. I do like the idea of like 45 minutes are going to go take a leak, especially since me and you have weak bladders. So I like the breakup, and also it gives a Pavlovian response to the audience if it's time to call in. You know.
One more note.
Yeah.
Dude, this is crazy. I wrote this down earlier because it blew me away. So apparently the Dallas connections to John David Norman, you have officially you have Jack Ruby renting a place from John David Norman while he was in Dallas. And this perfectly illustrates the Chicago connection to the Dallas mob. And obviously John Wayne Gacy's connection to Chicago at the time, and the Chicago mob, and then his connection to Dean Coral, who's in Houston, who's utilizing, obviously as a part of John David Norman's network, and they're essentially using to abduct children, and for many different reasons. Like here's something that I think people need to remember in the this is in the context of the Atlanta child murders, as far as my recent research into that specific network. And so you have drug trafficking operations spanning from Miami to Atlanta to also to Houston, right? Where you have Dean Coral committing these 29, 28 child murders. And then you have John Wayne Gacy committing 33 allegedly, and they all did this as solo actors. But Anyways, so the whole point is that the enterprise was obviously not limited to only moving drugs. This was not only a domestic drug trafficking operation, but it was also used to abduct children and to use them to produce child pornography and snuff films, as I had mentioned earlier. And so this is where you have the allegations of performing blood sacrifices and occult rituals that had been made by this individual named Shirley McGill, who was a Miami informant, a criminal informant, who brought in the satanic cult connections to the Process Church, to the Atlanta child murders. And that's where you start to understand that a lot of this overlaps so directly. And you have allegedly, according to Jim Rothstein and some of the prosecutors as well, or some of the individuals who were investigating the case and authorities who were involved in the Atlanta child murders, saying that the Process Church itself had just uprooted from upstate New York at just after the Son of Sam murders popped off, and then resurfaced in Atlanta just before the Atlanta child murders. And again, you have direct. It is absolutely insane, and we'll talk about it more. So
hell yeah, ahead, dude. That was a lot to try to be like. That was a lot, and a lot of really profound shit. Try to squeeze into like an end of commercial side effects thing.
Fucking nuts over here, dude. I'm being honest.
All right, guys. All right, we're gonna take a little break. We're not leaving. I'm gonna remind you guys, when you guys hear this little edit, this is going to isn't that guy talking shit earlier? Because I put him in timeout.
Yeah,
I didn't kick him out.
Was talking shit.
No,
he's cool now.
He's being cool.
He's being nice now.
Yeah, he's being cool now. So we're cool. We'll keep it.
My brother, Brent.
Everybody love everybody. But yeah, I do want to remind you guys, this doesn't mean the show's over. This is just us trying to Pavlovianly, I said that wrong probably, but train you to be ready to call in. While we do this, go take a leak, do whatever, get prepared to call in. Jules is going to drop the link for the to call in, and by call in I mean StreamYard. You can turn off your camera and treat it just like you would a call, so you can do that just fine. Too. But he'll drop it on Twitter at GrayPilledPod. He's going to drop it in all of the Yes I Am. Now also he's going to drop in all of the chats. But with that, guys, we're going to step out, go take a leak. We'll be back ready to go, fresh in a few minutes, and enjoy the supercut of Austin's last week on the Weekly Dump. And with that, we're out of here. Not out of here. I can't. No, we're not out of here. We're stay. Sorry, bad habits. Bad habits. It felt like I was going up. But all right, let's go ahead and play this, and we'll be back in a minute.
Top Lobster Productions. Look at that!
Relative to numerous subjects, including trade, Iran, etc., the call went very well. We are on the same side of every issue. This is President Donald J. Trump. What did you eat today? Chicken wings. The rest from the chicken from yesterday.
I think that virtualization has enabled the psychopaths.
Without a doubt.
Yeah, well.
Without a doubt.
That's right-wing, racist, whatever the fuck you want to call it.
God damn, if that ain't the coolest thing I've ever heard in my life.
No action was apparently taken. Documents obtained by 2020 show that someone called.
Or no, there was Parkland students who were there too, and this is also there was Roman Polanski. Earlier. She goes, "Well, I was right. Roman Polanski is a Polish intelligence asset, and his defection was prearranged. Only with the CIA started infecting and killing Iranian leaders and officials right around the time the U.S. assassinated Soleimani. Auspicious together. Looks like what with Bibbs, probably eating lobster."
Justification to violate our constitutional rights. Obviously, it's a workaround. It's a loophole, but
the Houthi rebels are supported by Iran, and soon after Israel invaded the Gaza Strip in 2023, the group started attacking international shipping vessels in the Red Sea, also targeting Israel.
I might believe this, X, Y, and Z, but at the end of the day, when it comes down to it, this guy is not a private actor. This is basically the government.
According to interviews with 9 American and Israeli defense officials who spoke on the condition of anonymity because the work is confidential, I'm sure there's other reasons for that.
trash talk, and
stop laughing.
I don't even know what I would have. I would have an underground tunnel, even though it came right back up next to where it started.
I do have an underground tunnel.
Do you really?
Yeah. Yeah.
He's calling for a Cass Sunstein like style intervention where he's like, we need more Jew influencers. We need more Jews out there spreading our information. It's exactly, that's Spectrum. I think I'm gonna fucking come to their house and kill them.
Yeah, Spectrum. Yeah, fuck
Steve
those
Wilkos.
guys.
Steve
All right.
Wilkos.
Speaking of the Jews,
Oh, there
I
you
do
go.
like the symbolism that he is your egg that is hatched.
He
so
is my
you've been sitting on this egg for so long, and now here it is, and it's hatched.
Yeah, and Raven actually he vomits into his mouth and he eats it.
That's
That's
right.
what goes on here.
Yeah.
Oh
That-
no,
that- dude, the symbolism is off the charts.
Laney brought up a good point. Rob is Jewish.
Oh, yeah.
Isn't the Jews? There's a bigger power behind the scenes there, man. There's people running. There's like Roman Catholics that are actually running the monetary system, not just Jesuits. I mean, you name it. There's like
Day, yeah.
Yeah, there's at least 5
Knights
other
of Malta,
groups.
yeah. So.
Yeah.
Hey, suck it, Mr. Jesuit guy. In that, you see, we talk about Jesuit stuff.
That was sick, brother.
Yeah, that was
Honestly,
pretty good little hypercut. Yeah.
Yeah, I really like that. I didn't see that part of the Zuckerberg interview with Theo,
No, you
where he
didn't?
talks about
that's
having
all I
underground
saw.
tunnels.
Wait, you watched the whole thing and missed that?
No, I didn't watch
Okay.
it.
Okay.
Yeah,
I just saw the clip. I thought you were saying you watched it and missed that. I was like, I just saw a clip. I was like, really?
No,
I was
missed the whole
like,
thing, yeah.
wow, way for me to
I knew he
completely
went
watch stuff
on,
out of
but-
context.
Yeah, that's so fucking funny, man. Anyway, yeah, I'm not at all surprised. But again, Zuckerberg for me, that guy is a lizard person from hell. So in my mind, he was handed the keys to an enterprise from the intelligence community, just like most of these manufactured personalities. So
Did you know Peter
I'm
Thiel's an
good.
anagram for the reptile? Somebody pointed that out in my chat today.
Is it really?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I believed him. I didn't check.
I believe him too, honestly. That's so fucking
It sounded
funny.
right. The letters seemed to match up. I don't know. Maybe there's an extra L or something. I don't fucking
Right.
know.
That is so funny, man.
Close enough to me that I'm like, I'll fucking say it resolutely.
Mhm.
Just
Right.
kidding.
Hey,
But-
I'll offer an olive branch here because the Jesuits are the military arm of the Catholic
call
Church.
in, dude.
Yeah, man, that's cool.
Call in. Talk shit to Austin here. Air out your grievances.
No, I'm not cool with that.
We'll kick you off if it gets heated.
but yeah, as far as the Jesuits being the military arm of the Catholic Church, that makes it is 100% accurate as far as you consider who really created the model for human compromise. I mean, what exactly was the confession? Right. Like, I mean, obviously everyone's aware of the fact that was utilized by individual cardinals and Catholic authorities, obviously, to utilize as blackmail. And but anyway, you have to be a patron, Big Bill.
No, you actually don't. You don't.
don't have to?
You have the new setup. We've changed it. We used to be the poors had to call in via phone number. And then the patrons can use the video call. But as we mentioned a minute ago, to call in today, what you need to do, we started this last week, is that it's just a StreamYard link. The StreamYard link's in the chats. It's in all the chats. It's also on Jules's Twitter. So whatever chat you're in, find that link. Either if there's a hyperlink, maybe you have to copy paste it. I don't know. But either way, that link's there. That will provide you a StreamYard link. And if you want to just do it like a call, you can turn off your camera. You don't even have to show your face. You can just call in, say, hey, what's up? But we do have people in the back. Let us know in the private chat if any of you guys want to join. I know there's like 3 of you back there right now. So if any of you guys want to join, I know I saw Sha Yuom was bringing up stuff about Set there at the beginning that I wanted to dig into, but we were already kind of past it. So just so you guys know, if you are a patron, you do get... You get priority because they've been here since the beginning. They were shooting the bull with us before the show even started. They were hanging out in like basically a pre-show. So if you are a patron of me or Austin, you essentially get the pre-show experience, and then you get priority when it comes to the call-in, if you so choose. Or you can just hang out. I know a lot of these guys like to just hang out in the back and watch from there, and they get their own little private chat to talk in the side. That I'll be honest, I tend to pay attention to more than the main chat. So. It is what it is. So they're kind of influencing our thinking in that way. So yeah, that's but at the middle of the show when we do go to calls, we will then put out the link, and then you guys can also join. You just won't get priority over our patrons. They get the priority. We saw them there first. We're aware of who was here. We know who's the first in line. And also, there comes a sort of point where the show grows, and there's enough people in the back that it'll fill up, hopefully, because there's only so many people that can be in the back anyway. So, just saying, if you want to get priority, or even in the future, even have a chance of making a call in at all, you may want to give us some fucking money. So, but with that, though, you don't have to. Today, at this point in time, we're not that big and famous. You can definitely get in, no problem, even not being a patron. Our patrons are just going to take priority. So with that, patrons, let us know if any of you guys want to call in or come in. I see your mom said he used my little chat that I said will give him and my patrons again priority. He said I want to call Jose an N-word, and that already got across, so I'm good. Thanks, guys. So he said that's all I want to say. He says I just want to see the passion. He says I just want to see the passionate water debate again. Says Bobo. Bobo, if you want to stoke that debate again, you're going to have to come on.
Hey, we covered it on TMD.
Yeah, I don't know how much more. Right. I can attack it from different theoretical angles. I just don't. Right. It is just kind of, it just feels like, man, this is a little bit ridiculous. I'm way past my theory days. I'm not even really interested in it. And here I am doing an hour on, water, like the theory of water and how it relates to rights. Rights, like what the fuck, guys? Can we get back to conspiracies?
Hey, dude, it's hilarious that, like, obviously that was the whole concept behind
I think he's like fucking with you.
No, it's the funniest thing. No, truly, like, I think if you can spend at least 30 to 45 minutes in a dispute over water rights, then you've made it, motherfucker. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah,
right?
we've learned too many concepts at that point. I think we need to dial it back.
We did it, brother.
Well, with that, I guess it sounds like neither Bobo nor your mom. So Shayuona, you're the one I want to talk to. I think you're the one who said about Set. So if you do want to come on and talk about Set, let us know. Otherwise, hey, whoever gets in here first, you can you have priority. So but we'll get back to talking about pedophiles like we always do.
Check this out. So during an interview, right, with Ted Gunderson, this is when Paul Bonacci mentioned being abused by this Chicago school teacher whose name was Joe Reynolds, and he procured children for this nationwide pedophile network, right, this boy prostitution network. And so this individual in Chicago who ran the child prostitution ring, just like Dean Corll, right, kept a pink collection of file cards. Instantly, I think Marc Dutroux.
Mm-hmm.
Instantly, I think the pink ballets of, Michelle Nihul and the Dutroux network. And that is not at all a coincidence. No way. You consider Michael Aquino visiting these very same locations where the pink ballets were taking place on his diplomatic missions, Like, no. I'm sorry, man. Like, you're caught accepting money from Larry King at Offwood Air Force Base in Ohio and Paul Bonacci is outing you as running Project Monarch from that very location while you're up in the Presidio during the Presidio scandal of child sexual abuse, being named as a perpetrator along with your wife who are sadistically abusing these children while reversing gender roles. Her name's Lilith.
Yeah.
That alone, what are we talking about?
We just like to be edgy. It's so wild. Why would anyone think anything weird's going on here? I don't know, because you made it your whole fucking identity, you fucking weirdo.
That's what I'm saying.
Hey, Jose.
What's up?
Bill, I think he'd get.
Yeah, he gave subscriptions. I'll be honest, I have no idea what that means.
I think.
I know people can do subscriptions on Rumble.
$5 a subscription.
What does that mean? So it just gives me $5
for you too, brother.
$5.
Okay.
Yeah.
So like, does it like come to me somehow, or like, I don't even understand membership on Rumble. Maybe I should probably figure that out. Essentially, on my Rumble, someone gave out Bill the Butcher. Appreciate Bill the Butcher. I'm not really entirely sure what that means. He gifted out 5 subscriptions to No Way Jose, and I have no idea what that means. So
damn, I didn't
but
know
it's
you
cool.
could
I
even do that.
guess. I
Yeah,
think it's
well,
cool.
I guess you can. Yeah,
Thank
with
you, Bill.
Patreon, I knew you
Yeah,
could.
I don't know.
but-
Someone
that's
tell me
dope.
what that
fucking
does. To
man.
be honest, I don't know how grateful
He's
I
a
should be. Or
rapist.
if,
He's a grapist.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, dude.
We love
That's
Bill.
hilarious.
oh,
Thank
by
you,
the way,
Bill.
JC, I see you in the chat. You said you asked if you guys talked about JD Vance's actually son of Michael Quino. I did this morning
Yes, what's
on the
up
morning
with that?
dump.
Tell me that
What's
connection.
up with that? JC is fuck you.
Damn.
It was like you tagged me in some shit, and the way I do my show is especially depending on who it is tagging. There's certain ones of you I'm just aware of the regular people tagging me and stuff. I know the type of content you tag in. And I was like, I just assumed JC. I'm not even gonna. And I try to make my show as much of a reaction as can be. Sometimes we tread old stuff. I retread content, but it's mostly trying to like react and kind of flesh these ideas out with you. But no, so I didn't really look into it. I just bookmarked it, moved on with my day. I was like, I'll just cover this on the show. Brought up, it was literally just one tweet, and like I assumed it was gonna be a thread or some sort of supporting evidence or anything. It was just like, this guy looks a lot like JD Vance.
Oh no,
that was like it. And they're like, okay, cool.
Really
Thanks, JC. You caught me my pants down with my audience.
That's
Like
so
they're like,
fucking good.
all right, guys, you ready to analyze this? And you're like, oh, there's literally nothing else to support this argument other than he looks kind of, and he does. Yeah, he looks kind of like Michael Aquino. JD Vance and Michael Aquino look a lot alike.
When I saw you post about it, or say, I think it was your post. I went and I thought, I was like, man, do they
He
look
forced
alike?
me to clickbaiting. I'm not a clickbaiter, but he made me clickbait.
yeah, 100%, dude. That's what happened to me too. But that is hilarious. I wouldn't at all be surprised. It really is, genetic as far as like.
We got two new people in the back. Let us know if you want to join. Torrin and John. Let us know if you want to join. Holler. And we will bring you on. There's a private chat there. So, yeah.
JC's defending himself.
It was interesting, but there was nothing else. It was like, it was just, they look a lot alike. I assumed there was like a thread or something to follow it.
Thank you for your contribution,
Yeah,
Jose.
that's people really say there's no such thing as a stupid question or a bad suggestion. That's a fucking lie. But I do love you, JC.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, who wants to join? I'll join John Brown. All right, we're bringing you on, John. What's up, pal? What do you got to say? Jesus, your audio's awful. Try that again. Mute us, or your whatever you got to go in the background.
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you great now. What's up? Can you hear us? No, he cannot. He's gone. He fucked off. Awesome. Your mom in the back in the chat says, hey, Jose, did you ever tell Austin about the Cuban XL monkey guy from the FSU shooting training with Oswald? Yes, I'm pretty sure I called him later that day. And thank you for reminding. I literally made a note of it on that episode. Like, hey, audience, remind me to tell Austin. And you did. So good job. You get a special big, you get 2 stars, your mom.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I did tell you about that. I was schizoing out pretty hard. It's funny, too, because it's funny how things work out. Because I was like, without really digging into it, I remember like I hadn't really dug into the FSU thing yet, and I just kind of was like knew the cursory information.
Yeah.
And so I knew like I didn't even know the number of victims. I knew there was a shooting. I knew there were people talking about some of the victims were or there were people there that were. I thought at first they were saying there were victims that were Parkland shooters, and so I was like, or that were in the Parkland shooting as well. And I was like, oh shit, that sounds significant to me.
Right.
And then I heard that like one of the victims was like the son of a Cuban exile as well. And so I just assumed there's a bunch of people, and that just sounded like, I also just kind of assumed that it's a college. There was probably a younger guy. And so some college students, so I'm just like thinking like some 20-year-old like being related to Cuban exile. Like, what does that even mean? Like,
he was
but he was the 50s
staff, right?
Yeah, he was staff, and he's late 50s. Yeah. So it's like my point being is it was literally an inverse of what I thought. Like I didn't put much import on the Cuban, but I put much more import on the Parkland angle. And then when I dug into it, once I started digging into the Parkland thing, I was like, I kind of realized like the kind of the area where Parkland's at, and it kind of realized like and think about it in terms of like where I went to school and the college nearby, and I'm like, is it really that crazy? None of them were victims; they were just there on the campus. And you're like, now I think about it, I'm like, I don't know. That's actually kind of likely the college, probably majority of those kids from that high school probably end up going to, because that's just how usually it's like a lot of people go to the local university, whatever's closest. So I didn't put much import on that. But then once I started digging into the Cuban angle, I was like, holy flying fuck. Whereas like I didn't put any import on it originally. I was like, that sounds like whatever. And then once I realized there was only 2 victims and one of them was him, you're like, oh,
sounds like
shit.
targeted assassinations.
It doesn't sound like a mass shooting to me. It sounds like 2 fucking people got
How
domed.
are 2 people considered a mass shooting?
Yeah,
that seems crazy to me, on its face. But yeah, I don't know, man. In anything involving the Cuban exiles, knowing how much they were affiliated with the domestic black sites, the training black sites that were constructed under Nixon, even prior to Nixon, but definitely facilitated even more so under Nixon, and obviously provided plausible deniability with the private sector, individual assets, obviously, that they were utilizing, like Howard Hughes, but still, it's interesting, to me, as far as that's concerned. But yeah, I don't know, buddy. I'm just over here reeling about either the, I'm still obviously very much if you want to continue that conversation we were just having about what
oh
was
no, you
going
could go on. I was looking at the chat. I just giggled at something somebody said. Someone says it was trying to get us to talk about this is a topic that they want to do. So what's the lowdown on Queen's eyebrows? Are they stylish? Are they something else? What do you guys think? I think there's something else.
Hey,
I
man,
think he
they
was
are
trying to
something
replicate the Eye of Horus, maybe. With the
Hey,
run
there
off
you
at
go.
the end. Yeah.
Oh,
That's what
We would all be
I don't think
surprised.
Sha Yuan wanted to come on, but because he didn't react to it. But he did mention earlier, and this didn't come up in our episode. He said that the sun, Set brings the sun or Horus to the underworld. I don't remember you mentioning that that's something Set is responsible for, or in the Egyptian
Well,
pantheon.
I had mentioned to you that he had killed Horus. So
Okay, but I didn't know he brings the sun as well, because that's intensely symbolic. Bringing the sun,
Horus is representative of the
black,
sun,
the flame,
and that word, the horizon,
of the black sun, bro,
stands for Horus rising.
Mm-hmm.
So the horizon that the sun comes up, that stems from the Horus rising.
What was involved with the Atlanta child murders? The cult of the Black Sun.
Ooh.
Which in my mind is instantly invoking the neo-Nazi imagery. Obviously, you're dealing with the process, the construct of the process ideology in terms of,
to be
obviously,
fair, that aesthetic goes hard.
It does go hard. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. I mean, there's a reason.
It fucks. Like, did you see the argument that going online about
even
Nike?
The symbol looks legit as much as
Did you see the argument going about Nike right now and the Nazi thing or whatever, and how they put out a shoe that was like Nazi red? I guess there was like this whole contrived by all the Jews essentially about how like they're advocating the Holocaust by putting out a Holocaust red shoe. I didn't even look at the shoe. I just keep saying Holocaust red. And it was funny. Like I remember in one of my group chats, I said like, I was like, what the fuck is Holocaust red? And they're like, or not Holocaust red, Nazi red. But I was like, I don't know, but it fucking sounds sick.
The black sun is the sun and rad. That's the imagery used and with
there you
National
go.
Socialists.
Well, why do you think that David Ferry resembled very similar eyebrows, in my opinion, and obviously they were both. Isn't that interesting? I mean, it's very similar in my mind. You put those two together. I mean, come on, don't they seem like they're pursuing at the very least they're pursuing some similar presentation.
Sha Yuon saying in the chat that the black sun symbolizes the butthole. I almost said that just because that's what immediately I associate it with, and that's kind of what I feel like I've associated with before. But it's just like I was trying not to be crass. I was trying to be a little bit classy around here, so I just didn't immediately go butthole.
Classy about anal sex.
Yeah. So, but that checks out. I mean, that would make sense to me. That's actually kind of what I assumed the black sun probably was, especially when you understand Set and then kind of how this. The hidden knowledge and occulted things and blah, blah, it's all come back to the fucking butthole. It's a symbol for a dark cave and fucking...
Yeah.
I will say, you know what my first thought was when I was researching John Wayne Gacy earlier? Motherfucker is Mark Dutroux. That's all that I kept thinking. Mark
Jaycees?
Dutroux.
Dude,
Mark
I
Dutroux.
can't unsee that now.
They're just abducting children using hypnotic suggestion in many ways, right? They have these mind control manuals that are discovered at their residences whenever they're actually, and then they have all this blackmail that they're accumulating.
They would have loved to have put that all off on him. And look at this sick, crazed serial killer. Like, look how far he went with his depravity. He's got dungeons and everything.
Right.
Like, yeah, they would love to have fucking set that up as just some crazed serial killer. He has a past, a criminal record of, prior rapes and other such things. It's kind of like, oh shit, look at this. Yep, clearly a path of behavior fits the MO. All the fucking woo-woo intellectual language thrown at you by the people. But I do think one thing, as we were kind of prepping for our Shane thing, is like it quickly became the concept was like, oh, this is the real satanic panic. You know, like they always go, oh, satanic panic. And it's like, oh no, this was like, it was an inverse of that. Like, you were sold this narrative of school shootings and serial killings and like probably other things you could conflate in here. And it's like you were sold this spirit of this going, this, oh my God, this crazy thing out in the world. And in reality, it was like this other thing going on. So, I mean, it very much satanic panic, but real.
Yeah, exactly. And like I mentioned earlier, a lot of this was for repurposing for the Enterprise, for the snuff films, for the ritualistic tendencies of the individuals involved in the Enterprise who were very much affiliated with the subscription model. And based on the subscription, you had more and more access to your sadistic proclivity that you desired, right? This strange, and you know what is insane, and what was a part of the Atlanta child murders. This is what I was alluding to earlier when I mentioned the fact that there was a satanic occult ritual aspect to the snuff film Enterprise in regard to that network. Because when this investigation was being conducted, you had these abandoned houses that I mentioned earlier, right? That smelled of rotting flesh. And it was in April of 1981. There was a source close to the investigation that revealed that some of the 24 missing and murdered children at the time were known to frequent this abandoned house in the northwest part of Atlanta, considered a homosexual rendezvous. And basically, you had this individual named Catherine Wetson, who led the search at the house basically at the very time, right, that the search was being conducted, and said that there was this odor, this stench that was exactly like the decaying of human flesh. And she recalled exactly the same stench that she discovered from the area where the body of a 7-year-old named Latoni Wason was actually found. And so 2 rooms smelled like this decaying flesh, and one had several mattresses in it, according to her. And so this is where the 2 Bibles were discovered, nailed to the wall, according to Miss Whetstone, who said one of the Bibles in the house was open to a passage that was, quote, about mixing blood and murderers. Another passage, Jeremiah 16:2 through 16:4. said, "Thou shalt not take thee a wife, neither shalt thou have a son or daughter in this place. For thus saith the Lord concerning the sons and concerning the daughters that are born in this place, and concerning their mothers that bear them, and concerning their fathers that begot them in this land. They shall die of grievous deaths. They shall not be lamented, neither shall they be buried. But they shall be as dung upon the face of the earth, and they shall be consumed by the sword and by the famine. And their carcasses shall be meat for the fowls of heaven and for the beasts of the earth."
Wow.
That was what was discovered at some of the areas where the ritualistic snuff film child murders were being orchestrated in Atlanta.
That's grim.
That's grim, brother.
That's fuck. Hey, we got some people
Yeah,
that
John
are
Black.
here.
I see you back there.
I didn't
You
know
wanna
if I
come
want to
on?
bring somebody else on or
Yeah, let's see if John wants to come on. What's up, John? You just shooting the bull, hanging out in the back? Are you joining the hanger outers in the private chat, or you got some questions? It is weird how there's so many of y'all show up now, but like basically no one wants to talk. Which I get it. I guess they really like the
It
behind
makes
the
sense.
scenes. Yeah,
Considering what
whatever.
we
You get your
discussed,
own little exclusive chat, which with people, I guess, more committed to. I'm telling you, that's a pretty. They had some great conversation going on there. It's a. I think we made a great little vector
Always.
for meeting friends, and then
Yeah.
the already dead private chat. So it's cool.
That's all we can hope for.
But John, you got anything, or are you just chilling? It sounds like you're just chilling. You're not answering. All right. Well, I'm just gonna kick you out. All right. Fuck you. I'm just kidding.
So check this out though, because
about
with
Torn?
Paul Benassi, this blew me away, brother. Are you saying something, Jules?
No, I was just asking if anyone else wanted to come on. But
ask them.
But if you want to talk, you know, you can talk about what you want to talk
We can
about.
go.
I
We
just-
got like literally like over 5 people. Chill up. All right, let's go. Keep going, Austin. It's fine. Shayuan said something about WandaCon. Let's bring Shayuan on. We're bringing you on, bud. He said he was open to it. You're the ones actually spitting fire in the back about all this symbolic type shit. So I'm kind of interested to see if you have any thoughts about any of the stuff we've been talking about. What's up, bud? Not hearing you. I think you're muted. Yeah, you are muted. I'll mute. I got you. Oh, never mind. Sorry. I was trying to help. All right. Go unmute yourself. Sorry, we both tried to unmute at the same time. Go ahead. All right, sweet. That's awesome. All right, great.
Yeah, my bad.
There you go.
There he is. Hey, what's up, brother?
Yeah, got him.
Well, interestingly, Set is known as Seth. So that even brings it back to like Old Testament, because after Cain and Abel came Seth. So Seth is actually goes all the way back to pre-dynastic Egypt.
Shit.
But over time, in the beginning, he had more of a positive connotation, but over time, like during the Hyksos time is when he started, which was Hyksos, like the wanderers, the travelers, which is basically what people relate to the Hebrews with the Hyksos. During that time, he related it to Baal. So that's when he started becoming like getting these other connotations.
Right.
But he is referred to early in the actually let me take that back. He was actually before in the pyramid text referred to as benevolent.
What up?
You're right. Yeah. Damn, that's crazy. That you're the first person I've ever heard bring up pyramid text.
These motherfuckers.
So I was doing a little brushing up, and I was reading, and when Austin was talking about that scene and how it was described, it was actually like correlating to what I was reading at that point.
Interesting.
So let's see.
I'm dying over here, man. I know. I'm sorry, Jules.
All right. So according to legend, he murdered his brother Osiris.
Very Cain and Abel like.
Just a little bit. We know that. All right. So yeah. All right, so, engaging in a bitter contest with Horus, he challenged him to the role of ruler. In the ongoing contest, he put out the eye of Horus, and then Horus castrated Seth. And it says that's doubtless an allusion to the suppressing the sexual power and violence of the god.
Jules, weren't you just talking about the phallic nature of the obelisk?
Well,
Yeah,
Osiris.
like,
Osiris,
taking
when
that
he was
out-
killed, he was chopped up, and only his phallus was found.
There you
The
go.
golden phallus, which was used, I think, maybe I don't know if they had something to, because Horus had to be brought back to life, basically.
I think it is interesting to think about that these people, like, you know, the temple Set, they equate themselves to, they essentially see themselves as God. They don't even really worship Set when you really analyze their beliefs. They worship themselves and see Set as like a
I think
it's an
like
energy.
The
It's like
archetype of Set.
it's like a
Yeah.
placeholder for themselves. It's like the same thing as worshiping themselves, essentially. And if you look at yourself as gods and then think about like what Shayuon is saying here, and kind of like and think of yourself as a god, what does this mean? What does it mean if you're presented this black sun? And we kind of said it was like a butthole, and the castration. And like, what is going on here? Are we seeing some sort of like, if you are a god, what you could do or how to interact, like in the like, because the whole
So
concept
let's
of becoming
relate it to
gods
the
and
sun.
using black
Let's-
magic and
let's relate it to the
influencing the
sun,
world.
because these are
Yeah.
aspects of because they're not gods. All right, they were known as netters, and netters are where we get the word nature. So they're qualities. So you say like, oh, that's in their nature. So this is the nature of the sun. This is so it's like set when the sun sets.
There we go. Love it. That's
the black sun, the setting sun, the black sun.
The
Like,
new
you can call it the
age.
butthole. but
Yeah,
it's-
man.
Yeah, there
So
we go.
every day it
The
dies.
rise of the new age
The god
from
dies.
the
The sun
ashes.
is dying every day and going into the underworld. So when it's in the underworld, it's known as Set, and then it's represented by sexual aggression and violence associated with rape and unnatural sexual desire.
Oh my God, brother.
His sister Nif. I can't pronounce that right, but it reminds me of like a nymph, like a nympho.
Yeah, Nefertiti was supposed to be its wife, right?
Yeah, it was
in
his
some
wife.
interpretations, maybe.
So it says in the pyramid text, it's also paired sometimes with belligerent gods. The god's fearsome character is seen as Egyptian funerary literature, where he's said to lurk in the underworld, in the netherworld, and to seize the soul of the deceased. And his malevolent character was thought to be expressed in the world too, in all kinds of problems and crime, in sickness and disease, as well as civil unrest and foreign invasion. He was associated with storms and bad weathers. That's where they get the desert god stuff.
Strategy of tension, my brother.
They were out in the desert. He's like the god of the desert because he kills vegetation and everything. That's like when you're in the sun has bad qualifications. He can give you cancer, but it also gives you life. You know what I'm saying? So it's and that's where like George Patil comes in, where he talks about the abundance of everything and where they need the sacrifice in order to kill off this extra shit, because you're just going to be like, for instance, you have tons of fruit. You know, so there's almost so much fruit you can have before you're just like, it's shit just rotting on you and it's just decaying, and you're in sickness and decay. So there's something to that, which I want to, eventually bring back later. When you guys have me on later. But I just want
that's a lot there.
to say,
you're killing it, man. I appreciate it.
If I may just take this one time to say fuck Tim Pool, if that's not
no, I'm cool with that. Yeah.
I'm with you, buddy.
My only run-in with him, besides seeing him on here, but before I was looking into the West Memphis 3, and I was looking into interviews, people that would interview Damian Eccles, because they're all the same interview, and it's very it's like, what's that? The View, like he's on like these wild where they give him the most softball questions. And he was on Tim Pool, and I didn't even watch more than like 10 to 15 minutes because I saw exactly where it was going with it. And, you guys have put me up on William Ramsey. So the other day I was like, let me go back to that interview, but it's so fucking boring. I really couldn't. So I was looking up someone's commentary. William Ramsey.
Yeah, I think I watched like 20 minutes of it. I watched like 20 minutes of that interview forever ago. It was boring as fuck. I don't know. I couldn't watch it. I didn't even, I couldn't care. I knew nothing about West Memphis 3. I started watching. I was like,
yeah, it's
how did you make Satanism boring?
No shit.
Go on. Sorry, didn't mean to cut you.
No,
I was agreeing with you.
But yeah, he's definitely not organic. There's no way he could possibly be organic.
Yeah,
you don't get a White House press credential, right? As an organic, authentic media actor. There's no way in my mind.
I don't know when he stopped being, or if he ever, or how. Like what the path is, I don't know, because I do feel like there probably was something there, but in the same sense that like at one point, I think Daily Wire really was the in a certain sense pushing the Overton window, but it's like we've pushed it so far that we're so far past and it exposes what a fucking fraud they were to begin with.
Yeah,
like the fact that like that fraud was like pushing the envelope, and it's like no, we're past that. We're really pushing the envelope now. And so we have this odd media landscape right now where we have these people who manage to find some semblance of being alternative voices and actually developing an audience and not getting blown away and somehow playing that game and not while being kind of an opposing force of sorts. And so now the old guard's dead and the new guard that was kind of but like kind of the alternative voices that were just kind of able to play the game, who played the game, which is fine. I get it. I understand. But like, hey, now we're in a different world now, and everyone's past that shit. We're not about playing this game, and now we're seeing that you're just doing the same thing because you were playing the game, and you're just trying to go business as usual. When it's like, no, the overtime window's been opened. You can do some. You don't have to do this. Like, and it's kind of almost like, I think it's like it's hard to say to what degree it's like on purpose or if it's just incentives in place of like people acting a certain way. This is why they present their content in certain ways over time. I don't know if that's just like how they've been like, this is the only way they've been able to stay operable during this time, and now they're just not able to change. I don't know. It's always hard to say. It's because it is like,
oh, absolutely.
But I do think that whatever that component is, it's the next thing to die off. It's just a matter of how long. And some of those actors will probably manage to stay relevant and kind of maybe read the writing on the wall and maybe manage to turn heel to something better.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not saying there was never a moment where Tim Pool's organization was genuine.
Yeah.
But I will say that, man, when you consider the fact that he's very, very clearly becoming a gatekeeper, whether he wasn't, whether or not he was put into that position to begin with or not, really doesn't even matter at this point, because what is he really, as a individual content creator, what is he really presenting to the public? And in my mind, he's gatekeeping. He's misconceptualizing all of these narratives that should be, in my mind, interpreted along the lines of what we attempt to present with our content, and as far as just like this network that we're attempting to, really just, in my mind, just lean into, because it's like we're all like-minded individuals objectively pursuing the truth. Like, what a beautiful concept. And guess what? There's a huge appetite for that in this very moment, man. Yeah.
We actually had this talk a little bit today on with Top and kind of the concept of like the artificial nature. And there's like someone we know, which we straight up named him in the episode because it's not even like, it's like Chase Geyser. There's no like no fucking there's no it's like they're actually, we even were making the point that like I'm pretty sure he either straight up told us like it was not something he like it was an open, I wouldn't even say secret. He just knows. Like it's been from the start when Chase Geyser started. I believe he would tell you openly, and I want to say he did on a podcast. I can't recall. This is forever ago, like almost 500 episodes ago. But I do remember he did. He was clearly bought it up, and I don't think he wasn't hiding it or anything. And that was kind of a common practice. So he's bought it up, but from there he was able to kind of then leverage this fake success into a job for InfoWars.
Exactly.
So it was like, hey, that's something. But it's like at the same time, it's like it's kind of that idea. My point being is it is standard practice, and this is normal for these bot type things. And yeah, they act like they're gone and this, but it's like a lot of these big shows you see, a lot of them are botted up. And like I'm not like, and the kind of point I made in that show is like I actually probably kind of, depending on what the prices are, I've never even looked into it. It's actually not the worst idea. It's just I just didn't really want to. It just feels gay. It just feels weird. But it is like there is an actual like social science to it. And like when these people see bigger numbers, they get drawn to it. But I do think there is something to people get lost in that a little bit, and then you get distortions in the market, I guess, that I think that kind of unrolls out of there. So it's kind of hard. But my point being is you do see these mega big shows, and I do think sometimes sure, they're probably still big, but it's probably not as big as you think. So it's just, and I'm just saying, I'm only saying that from my impression of like I can tell you I've been on some semi-large, I've never been like on Rogan or anything crazy. You guys most know I've been on IRL twice. I've been on, Sam's show a bunch of times. I've been on I've been on like some Dave's show, and it's just like I just feeling. I can only tell you what, like I feel like I've gotten good at reading metrics or feeling metrics almost just when I see them. Like I try not to. I'm not someone who's like vain and obsessed with them, but I'm around them. I see the numbers, and it's like I just can tell you from the boosts I've gotten from shows, it just feels like it's not accurate. I'm just saying. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It doesn't feel accurate. Because if you look at that, like there's supposed to be every other of those shows I mentioned, theoretically have like a fraction of his audience, and it's like just judging by the boosts, I'm like, well, that doesn't seem to match up. So, I mean, to be fair, it is like to the other shows, those are more to my audience, and to be fair, Tim Pool's audience is far less my audience. So if I go on a Sam Tripoli or Dave Smith or Jake Shields, I'm far more playing to my audience, so it makes sense. I'll pull more for that, but Tim Pool's supposed to have a way bigger audience. So it's like, I don't know. The fact that like the gains I see from these so-called smaller shows dwarf that, I'm like, I don't know.
Right.
Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm misreading it. It's completely just
No,
anecdotal. My vibes of the numbers, but that's my read on it. That's my finger in the pulse. I sense artificial. I sense that someone's cutting my coke.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
No,
But
it's it's in my mind, again, you're dealing with an obvious astroturfed as far as just infrastructure in terms of independent media, and that alone, I think we just need to remind ourselves every step of the way that there are gatekeepers that have been obviously deployed in order to misdirect us and put us into these obviously corral us back into these permanent establishment narratives, as I've discussed many times. But yeah, no way.
Sorry to cut you off.
No, you're good, buddy.
I was gonna say, if you're serious about knowledge, then you gotta research it, and you gotta cross-reference everything that you get. Not just go to, as soon as I hear something, I'm like, hold on, let me go look at this somewhere else. One of the places I find a good source is Google Scholar.
Okay.
I'm familiar with that.
Yeah.
You can find it's all
academic
just
studies and stuff. Yeah.
yeah. So that's
Yeah,
a
man.
great place to go.
That's why I use JStorage all the time, because it's basically like the academic aspect of like, here's what they'll allow if you have academic credentials and you can access this, you know what I mean, and you'll actually have legitimate resources. Of course, you're limited on your exposure to those real resources, because of course they're all paywalled, and there's a reason for that, because essentially we're in a point in time where you have to basically, all real information inevitably becomes paywalled or memory hold, one of the two, so good luck, kind of like navigating that environment, which is very difficult to do. And another reason why you have to go back to primary resources and materials of that nature, because the only real way that you can kind of trust your own opinion, because so much of what we're dealing with and engaging in is just manufactured misconceptions, potentially deployed to deceive us. And so that alone, keep yourself in that karate stance, like Tripoli always says, because if you're not always skeptical of the source, at least the source, but also the framework of the narrative, like, look at what they're trying to feed you. And it's like, that's what I find so amazing. Once you can kind of like sift through the techniques they utilize and to attempt to exploit us, then you start to, it's the pattern recognition superpower, right? You feel like you're wearing a cape all of a sudden. You're like, this motherfucker, right? For a fact, this is deception. This is manipulation, and it's only due to the fact that, hey, man, I'm sorry, but I heard this script before. You know what I mean? And like, I think that there is something so beautiful about that idea, is that we have the ability, to conceptually defend ourselves. And so we need to pursue that frame, that mindset, that perspective, that it's just something that me personally, I'm tired of the deception, right? So I am very much trying to position myself to where I will not be, vulnerable to those narratives when they fall in front of me, and I'll be able to push them aside and sift through the reality, the terms of reality that we should engage with, that actually do provide us with, credible evidence, to the contrary, that perhaps most of these narratives are entirely designed for that reason, for deception, for plausible deniability, for keeping us in the dark and underneath the surface of understanding. Absolutely, man.
It's what a ritual is. A ritual is an enactment of an idea or a situation. That's all a ritual is. Movies, 100% ritual. Storytelling, ritual, take you from the beginning right through. Even when you go to a movie theater, it's a very ritualistic thing. Lights go off, everything's silent. It's a very ritualistic thing. So, even like back to the Egyptian gods, Thoth, or the god of thought, right?
Mm-hmm.
So to bring things into existence, first everything starts in the mind. Everything starts with a thought. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You can't come
It's
if
the
you're not in
spark.
the right.
It's the divine spark, man.
Exactly. So
I gotta grab what. Hold. I'll be all right back. I'm still listening though. Hold on. I'll be right back.
So yeah, just the more you bring from the thought, when you say something, that brings it more into reality. When you build something like an effigy or something, or a talisman, you know what I'm saying, you're bringing it more into existence. So it's very important to mind the words. Words are very powerful, and they bring people into states of mind where you can even just see how people reflect off of movies and how they identify with characters sometimes as taking over their whole character. You know what I'm saying? So, and also I also would like, cautious about the voyeurism or the of the whole thing, because it's like you hear about these serial killers, they always want to see their crime, you know what I'm saying, so it's like they like to hear it being repeated. It's kind of
it's the revelation of the method. And I think in a certain weird sense, I think it reinforces the ritual. I think that it being it being flagrant, because it's like, and it's that concept of, it's like they're not really lying to you. They're clearly being deceptive. It's like, that's kind of what I was driving at with the Temple of Set. These black magicians are clearly intentionally being deceptive, but they aren't really lying to you. Like if you really analyze the words, I mean, yeah, I'm sure there are examples where you can say, yeah, they're straight up lying. But when it comes to this like occult woo-woo shit, a lot of times you read, it does seem like they're not lying, but you just really need to understand what the fuck they're saying. And it's like we kind of pointed out, once you decipher these things, once you break the spells, because these things have been occulted, these things have been given a special meaning that you only can get. You only once it has been revealed to you can you then can it dawn upon you.
Everything has at least 4 meanings. Everything, and everything is a symbol. Words are symbols. Everything is a symbol. So
what's the
meanings? At least 4.
Oh my God. Back to the water, dog. That's so funny. No, but you're 100% right, man. And like, I honestly believe that, first of all, I am curious though, why 4? Do you know that do you have
you have opposites. So the one always is a reflection of the other. So that's right there, the 1 and 2. And then
duality. So you already got duality.
The duality of nature.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
And then even just in the way, like, because remember, like, words were really written without vowels.
Yeah.
So when you look at certain words, a lot of words, if you take out the vowels, you can make a lot of words out of those things, and they relate you also to similar actions or qualities. That, even like God and a goad. A goad is GODE is a stick you use to drive cattle with.
Interesting. I love it, brother.
Wow, well, brother, we're getting late in the tooth here. I am actually genuinely super interested. I'd like to have you call back in next week or the weekend. I mean, hell, whatever. If you have any thoughts, anything we're saying, I do find this stuff super interesting, because I do think this is the language of the black magicians that attempt to rule above us, and we're fighting against it. Yeah.
It really is.
Black nobility shit. Yeah. But with that shot, we're gonna let you go, and you can come back next week, and then appreciate you calling in.
Yeah.
Appreciate everyone in the back that's hanging out. Hell, there was a bunch of you back there, and almost none of you came in, but it was cool to at least have you guys in the private chat with us.
Texted Jules. I don't know what the fuck
he said his daughter. He was messaging in the private chat and stuff. Something his daughter came or something. I think hopped in his lap, or I don't know what. But with that,
Oh, okay,
Austin,
alright.
let's get out of here. Normally, I'd say I
Sounds
see you
good,
tomorrow, but I won't see you for another week
Man,
now. Actually, it's a
well
lie. I'll see you on Thursday. We're doing Watergate. I'm actually going to see you Thursday for like 3 weeks in a row. 'Cause
and
we got
like I said,
Watergate, we got Waco, and then I think after that we're starting our Dutroux. So,
Right.
yeah. But
when
My YouTube is back up. They
Oh,
appealed it. So
woo! Did we even talk about
not
that?
shut down.
I'm
No,
sorry.
we
I
didn't,
totally meant
but
to highlight that in the show and totally slipped. I meant to start from the jump. Guys, he got his thing. Go follow his Rumble because he got nuked.
hey guys,
He's not
Rumble,
unnuked,
YouTube,
so
Spotify,
yeah.
Great Pill Pod on Twitter, Great Pill _ podcast on Instagram, Patreon, pushing Patreon, do Patreon only episodes every week. All right, love you guys. Y'all stay great pilled. Have a good one.
Austin.
Brother. All right, dude. So, by the way, we have to have another conversation about Aquino. So I'll probably be in the
100%.
at some
I haven't even
point.
scheduled. For those a little behind the scenes, I'm likely probably going to go on Def Death Squad and probably talk about Keno soon. And so I was like talking to Austin before the show today, and I was like, oh, if we could talk to Keno, it'd be cool. Just kind of jog my memory, kind of kind of get the juices flowing. But I think we talked about it a little bit, but it was like I'm not even scheduled, so it's like probably going to be weeks from now. So we can talk about next week. No big whoop, no rush.
Yeah. As soon as I get because I really want to just get this solo episode done, and as soon as it's done, I really want to have a conversation with you. At least like next week, we'll do a TMD at least one of them at least where we have that conversation because again. We have John DeCamp, we have Paul Benassi, we have a lot more Noreen Gosh, that I think that you would be very interested before you do that interview too. So it'll be a lot of fun. But beyond that, you guys know nothing but love. You follow me at Theater Thug AWP on Twitter, and then obviously on Instagram it's just the Underclass Podcast. But beyond that, it's definitely patreon.com/the Underclass Podcast, the best place to support me if you have the means to, and you'll be able to access the whatever this is, right? My paywalled exclusive content. So if you guys actually appreciate anything that I've ever put out and as far as content, and obviously it resonates with you, then clearly Patreon's the best way to support me. Otherwise, nothing but love. And Jose, you're my brother, man. You know that.
Yeah. Hell yeah, brother. And we'll be back next week. Like I said, we also are going to be doing a paywall episode in a couple days. So for those who are following along with our Watergate series, we will have that here in a little bit. But that for those who want to support this show or the No Way Jose podcast, my show, obviously we dual stream this for me and Austin. But you can go over and give me a like, share, subscribe. If you don't want to give any money, that's a way to do it. If you're being a poor, give a 5-star review on iTunes, Spotify. I mean, hell, even if you're not being a poor, you can add money on top of that. But it's free. Do those things. It's free. It takes you very little time. Do that for me and Austin. It helps out a bunch. But if you do want to directly support and to really make a difference, in that sense, the best way to do that is give me money. Really, no better way to say that. Patreon.com just No Way Jose 2020. The lowest level is $2. Not too bad. That gives you an ad-free RSS. Huh?
Griff the merch. Somebody said it.
Toplobster.com. We got all our stuff there. But yeah, you got Patreon.com just No Way Jose 2020. That's where people support me. The $2 level is where you get the ad-free RSS feed. You also get the early access episodes like the Jules episode I did last night. I'm about to do one with Austin on Thursday. Also, you get priority, as I mentioned today, and already dead call-ins, and you can hang out in the pre-chat, in the pre-show, and shoot the bull with us. But yeah, the highest levels of my sponsors, I give them a shout-out every episode because I love them, and I appreciate the support. I have my co-host on Tower Gang, at Tower Gang Toad, also at Brigade D's, at ZOVRECK, at _Field, Tim Tuttle, at John Klebold, Will Bell's Delicious Blueberry Rabbit Eye Wine. Big fan of the show, Torme, and then at NWARD. Oh, crap. He changed his handle. I need to change that. My bad. But either way, appreciate you guys. Love you all. Oh, yeah, follow me on Twitter at Tower Gang Jose, especially for the morning show. If you tag me in content, that's the best way for me to get a feature on the morning show. If you got anything you feel like would be worthwhile to contribute to the show, you see an interesting thread, interesting article, something, whatever, tag me in it, and I will very likely bring it up on the show. But with that, guys, we're going to get out of here. Love you all. Catch me tomorrow, 10 a.m. Eastern on The Morning Dump, and we are out. Bye-bye.